Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today we're going to talk about Washington State's new Cannabis Odor Task Force tackling that stinky confronting issue. To help us talk about this ridiculous article is Katrina Glogowski, angel investor and attorney. Thanks for spending your time on this MJ Business Daily article.
Thanks, Josh.
All right. So the state is forming a Marijuana Odor Task Force and seeking an outside expert to advise regulations on the possible impact of cannabis odors on human health. Is there any such thing in the bovine world with cows and methane and everything? I mean, can't they just take that funk and just say, here's how you're going to be affected by some shitty smells?
I must tell you, Josh, one of the first cases I ever worked on as an attorney, we call it the cow shit case. Some dairy farm and individuals lived downstream from the dairy farm, and upon heavy rain, literal cow shit was flowing in their direction. So yes, there are some regulations related to bovine excretions, Josh.
Mm-hmm. So you would think they'd be able to take that data and just figure it out. No one has any complaints. Is there a broccoli cooking plant somewhere? Because that smells terrible when you cook broccoli. The aroma of Tacoma is a suburb of Seattle. The aroma of Tacoma is from a paper mill. So I would only imagine that, what is it, Pacific, whatever the company is that's down in Georgia, the paper company, I would imagine anyone in Georgia who's been around that paper mill probably knows the funk I'm talking about. And it's worse than cow manure. In high school, we played football like right next to a cow pasture, and that all 4 quarters smelled like shit. And you just deal with it. But it's funny how, with a plant, you cook broccoli and it stinks or whatever, and it's like BO. Is it really that much of an issue when farmers are used to dealing with poop on the regular?
Josh, I think this is neighbors who need to complain. First and foremost, cannabis stinks. Everybody knows this. It doesn't smell like a rose, but I think this is more a situation of NIMBYs, not in my backyard. They don't want this crop anywhere near them, as opposed to a true health issue related to the odor of marijuana traveling across the street. Now, of course, the chemicals that they put on these plants could affect you, but the odor in and of itself is just such a NIMBY argument that it's ridiculous.
Yeah, Sean Dene she's with Washington Bud Company, and she thinks that the complaints are coming from a very small percentage of opponents to cannabis, but that it's necessary to ultimately address the public outcry. So it probably is just a few small percentage of people who don't like the smell of it, because again, there's just so many other things to complain about. But yeah, the Not in My Backyard crew is definitely a loud voice and maybe a disproportionate percentage of complainers. I'm not really sure how they're going to finalize this. I'm just going to have to listen to both sides and maybe have an area designated for growing or cannabis production.
This is my prediction is this is going to go nowhere for the exact same thing that you've already mentioned. If you live next to a dairy farm or a cow pasture or a broccoli plant or a paper plant or a cabbage field, you already know that when you move in. And then complaining about it after the fact is just ineffective. These cases related to the farms outside of cannabis, they don't go anywhere. Because ultimately you can move. If it bothers you that much, you can move. And the individual who legally is growing whatever the crop is, be it beef or cannabis or cabbage, has the legal right to do that, what they want with their land within the legal limits. So these cases will go nowhere, Josh. It's just red herring in an attempt to get cannabis out of the neighborhood.
And yet it seems to have worked with the right form of regulators. So in Washington state, east of the mountains is a lot of agricultural, and over there by Lake Chelan, they have a lot of wine, and the wine culture is a significant lobbyist group in Washington. Second largest wine producer out of Sonoma Valley in California, which is the second largest out of Europe. So kind of makes Washington state a big deal when it comes to wine. And yet the wine industry has shoved everybody out of Chelan County that wanted to grow cannabis because they have a land designation for wine. And so Red Mountain has a wine designated land area to grow grapes. And a lot of the cannabis farmers want that terroir. They want that rich soil out there on Red Mountain. And so I'm wondering if there's a battle between agricultural crops where the wine industry is like, y'all are out of here. This is rich man's territory. Get out. Whereas the cannabis growers are kind of blue collar, trying to grow up a little bit, and yet reaching some serious roadblocks with other commodities, maybe?
Well, Chelan is an interesting example, and what the wine farmers did in Chelan County was change zoning rules. They did not say, "Oh, cannabis stinks, get it out of my backyard." They wanted to protect their crop. And we see this quite a bit with apples and cherries. You're not allowed to cross-contaminate, especially here in Washington. And then the other thing they did in Chelan County, they said you can't have an excessive use of electricity. And as you know, cannabis grows require an extraordinary amount of electricity. And none of this was, it smells bad. These were all zoning rules and public utility rules to restrict the growing of cannabis in a particular region. Just like we have dry cannabis cities in Seattle, where they're like, no, it's not legal. But the legal distinction there, though, is you can't grow weed in Chelan County, not because it smells bad, because the wine growers did it the right way and changed zoning laws.
The right way, putting that in air quotes. Yeah.
They're not saying it smells bad, which it's ridiculous. It's a waste of taxpayer money to talk about odors from a crop, because that's not the right way to go. As I said, even cow shit, literal cow shit smells don't get regulated. So this is going to be unsuccessful.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Gonna have to come back to Talking Hedge and find out. With that, we want to thank my guest, Katrina Glogowski, angel investor and attorney. Thanks for being back on the podcast.
Thanks, Josh.
With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.